Hello and welcome back to the RENTR Podcast. This is another episode of my step-by-step guide for aspiring fashion stylists or people who want to transition from other fashion fields in the industry to the job of a fashion stylist. I think this episode in particular is very helpful for a lot of other creative jobs that you would normally do freelance, because I will talk about our favorite topic today, which is financial tips for stylists and creative, managing your money, growing your business. Because I know that we all love the creative side of things on our job, but there's obviously also a side of things that is business related, numbers related, finance related. And when I started my career as a fashion stylist around 7 years ago, I didn't have a clue what was going on. I made a lot of mistakes, and I just want to prevent people from failing miserably at doing their finances. That is why I am recording this episode today. So obviously I am not a specialist, I'm not an expert, but everything that I'm saying in this podcast is fact-checked, and this will definitely help you. So yeah. My idea is just to make it as nice as possible to plan your finances. And I think a podcast episode is actually perfect because you can do your creative stuff. You can clean your apartment, whatever you need to do, and listen to it. I also have a new kind of category for you for the podcast, which will be a brief summary of the fashion news of the week. So as you know, we're also doing the daily fashion news on TikTok, Instagram, and on WhatsApp. But from now on, I will also give you a brief summary of everything that kind of happened in the fashion world from the last week. So yes, I would say let's just dive into it. My name is Meret, if I didn't say it. I'm your host. This is my second video episode. This is my dog, Kobe. He's always by my side. And before we start, maybe we can also do a little fit check like last time. Again, RENTR. This is a Marni mohair sweater, I believe from the 2018 collection. So yeah, this is this really kind of popular colorway with the purple and the red stripes. I'm also wearing, I think these are Zara jeans, normal bootcut blue jeans, and those red heels that I got on ASOS. So this is kind of the fit. I'm also having little cherries here to repeat the red a little, but that's kind of it, because this episode is also from the comfort of my home. And again, this is very new to me to not be in bed and with my face mask on. Let's take a moment and kind of rewind the fashion news from this week. Okay, first things first, LVMH has problems on the stock market. So the investors of LVMH are kind of jittery following the reports of the weak demand for European luxury goods in China. And as we all know, China is one of the key markets. The markets slowed down after COVID, and the LVMH shares dropped by 24% over the past 6 months. So this decline is kind of significant, especially for all the investors in LVMH, but also for their global revenue and profitability. So it's really, really important for them to make recoveries. So I'm really excited to see what's happening. Another really big topic, obviously, this week was the Victoria's Secret fashion show. So obviously you had all the OG bombshell supermodels making kind of their comeback in New York. To be honest, I also watched the show. I was maybe a bit disappointed by the whole scenery, but I think this is kind of the prime opinion that I see on TikTok. Everybody missed the angels, and I was really disappointed also by the outfits and the wings itself. It just didn't feel finished, the project itself. And so that was kind of sad to see a little, because I was actually really, really excited, because Victoria's Secret is a big part of my childhood. Another thing, Met Gala 2025. Obviously already in the prep, the Met Costume Institute prepared the spring exhibition, and it's titled Superfine Tailoring Black Style. So this is actually groundbreaking and like a highlight, because they will show the influences of Black designers on Western tailoring, and they will showcase both like contemporary and also historical pieces. And it's set to open in May 2025. So this is actually a really cool concept, I think, and it kind of celebrates the rich cultural impact of Black creativity in fashion. And I think this is like the first time for the Met, and also like for the Met Gala, and also like a lot of like numerous Black fashion people are involved in like the whole thing. For example, Pharrell. Obviously, I would have loved Virgil among those people. I think it's like one of the really interesting topics that you could like tap into as like a host in the jury. But yeah, rest in peace. Another thing, Kim Jones exits Fendi. Another major shakeup in the industry, like Kim Jones has officially exited Fendi, but he's staying at Dior. So yeah, he kind of had a significant run at Fendi. He shaped the new creative vision for the brand, but I think it's smart for him to like focus on Dior. It's also like a better match for him, I feel like. And yeah, I'm kind of curious to see what will happen next and who will go to Fendi, obviously. Yeah, maybe a woman this time, finally. Another thing, this week, Barcelona Fashion Week kicked off. I think it's quite late, actually, like season-wise in Spain, but I think it's still good weather. But yeah, they're kind of showcasing new, really interesting designers from the city, or like all over Spain. I think it's definitely like kind of worth checking out their Instagram account, because they tagged all the designers. And especially if you're a stylist and like looking for new designers, this is actually really, really cool and like a good option, especially if you're based in Europe. But I will also do an episode really, really soon on sourcing new designers and like new talents. Another section would be I think one of like my favorite collabs so far this year, and that is the collab between Gia Borghini and the Grandquist sisters. You might know them as like the stylists of Kylie Jenner, for example, and Travis Scott. It's like two sisters, and they teamed up with Gia Borghini, and I think it's like a capsule collection of like 6 different shoes, but I really liked all of them. And yeah, Gia Borghini is actually also like going viral right now with like their suede open toe boots. So if you like those, but maybe look for something that's like even more modern and maybe minimalist, then I think this is actually really, really good for you. Talking collaborations also, I mean, we also talked about Victoria's Secret before. Obviously, Kate Moss did her debut. She's also officially an angel now. But Kate Moss is teaming up with Zara. They're partnering up for a special collection. And I expected to kind of bring like the edgy, timeless style that Moss is like wearing. Yeah, and they were kind of offered obviously on like a Zara price point. I didn't see it yet, so I'm very excited. I'll keep you posted. And if you're more into the news section, follow us on TikTok, because we are posting daily news. All right. Now let's get into it. Let's get into the fun. Yeah, today's episode is kind of packed with tips, strategies, advice on how to manage your money, grow your business, thrive as a stylist in the end. So we will talk about everything, kind of from setting your rates to handling taxes and saving for the future. Yeah, we're kind of going to cover it all, and I'm trying my best to make it as general, but also as easy as possible for everyone to understand. So first of all, before you have anything to do with taxes, obviously you have to set your rates as a stylist. So let's start with one of the most common questions that stylists have when they're starting out. How do I set my rates? How much do I charge? That's like something I hear a lot. And whether you're working with clients on a freelance basis or you're taking on projects for brands, you need to know how to price your services fairly, while you're also ensuring you're kind of making profit. I also talked about this shortly in the last episode, where I was talking about fashion consulting. But yeah, I will now go more into the details. So obviously you can share it between hourly, or you can do a flat fee. You decide if you want to charge by the hour or by project. Some stylists charge by the hour, especially for personal styling or like shopping trips, and others prefer to set a flat fee for like the entire project, such as a wardrobe makeover or maybe also a photo shoot styling. Yeah, both models work, but you need to like calculate how much time you're investing and what makes sense for the client and the scope of the project. Have to look what's better in the case or like the context you're working. Another thing, obviously, research industry rates. You could start by researching what other stylists in your area and niche are charging, for example, via LinkedIn or like freelance websites. I know that also stylists are sometimes having a hard time like talking about figures and numbers and how much everybody earns, because obviously online everybody looks like super rich, super cool. They have like all of these cool clothes and you feel like, okay, they must earn something, I don't know, like in the 10,000, 20,000s, even more per month, which is rarely true for stylists. And I would also, when you start out with rates, I think you can also see relatively quickly what people are kind of willing to offer you in terms of your work. That doesn't mean you have to accept everything that people are offering you, but you can also check out maybe platforms like Nova. I'm not on Nova, I'm not sure how it works, but Nova is like a platform where bigger clients look for creatives to work with. So yeah, when you like set your rates, don't start too high. Also don't start too low. If you're not like starting out like really in the beginning, that's where you kind of have to work for free most of the time, or you're starting out as an assistant, so people will set your rates. But if you're assisting, you can also maybe just like talk to the other stylists that you're working for and like just ask them how much they actually make with the job. Then you can like get a better understanding. And if you have someone close to you, you can just ask them how much they make. But it's just dependent on so many different factors that I can't really say this is how much you should like charge for an hour, for example, or for like a project, because it's kind of depending on how big is the company you're working with, or like the talent. What do they expect from you? Is it like very basic? Is it like very elevated styling? Is it maybe not just a styling project, but more of like a, let's say like a makeover for a public person, for example, so you really like long term with them? What country are you in? Stuff like that is really has like a lot of factors to like the price that you're actually setting in the end. If you're listening to this and you're kind of having like a question, or maybe you got a request for a project, or you got requested your fee for a project, you can also like reach out to me, and then we can like look into it like more on your case. Like I'm very happy to help you out. You can either email me, it's all in the show notes, or just shoot me a DM on Instagram. Everything is fine. So yeah, I'm very happy to help here on this, but there's not really like a clear answer on like how much you should charge. But with time you would definitely like kind of get an understanding for that. Another thing that you should definitely take into account are your expenses. So don't forget to account for your overhead costs, such as transportation, fashion pulls, assistant fees, insurance, all of that. All these expenses should be reflected in your rates. Like otherwise you'll find yourself covering those costs out of pocket, which can quickly eat you into your like profit. So put everything onto your invoice. Like once you're finished, like say, this is my work, this was the shipping, this was the transport, etc. And yeah, as I said, consider your value. If you are bringing in high level expertise, such as connections with amazing top tier designers, or you have access to other, I don't know, fashion archives, or let's say RENTR, it's also an archive kind of, you can charge more, because your unique value as a stylist should always be reflected in your rates. Also, pro tip on this one, always have a clear contract with your client before you start the project. Like it does, like this protects you kind of from scope creep, where clients start adding like extra tasks outside the original agreement, without actually paying you more. Like clear contracts also prevent any confusion over payments and deliverables. I think this is really important. Also, if you find yourself in a situation where maybe the client asks you like how much time this will take, for example, if you like your prep time for 4 looks for a model, and the client asks you like 2 weeks before, and they ask you if it's like doable, and you say yes, and then they keep on adding more and more outfits, or like asks to like the styling, then you definitely have to communicate that clear with your client before it's too late. Like don't wait too long. This is like all professional field. Like it's okay to stand up and say if something is not working. Like if they say they really want to work with this, amazing designer from China, but you're located in the EU and the shoot is in like 4 days, it won't be doable. And I would rather say I would either need like one more week of prep time, or we can do the designer this time. But I would definitely like talk to the client before it's too late, because if you show up on set and you don't have the stuff from like this Chinese designer, and they're also not happy with your alternative and you didn't communicate it, then you're kind of fucked, because then again there's a question of deliverables. And if they also ask you to like do more and more, that's very common, for example, with music videos, when they say, okay, we have this one talent, can you start this one talent, and then there's other people in the music video, but they tell you that later, charge extra for that. Don't do everything for like the same price that you would take for just the talent. If you have like 10 dancers, even though it's just very, very simple styling, still take an extra for that, because you never know if you like need to buy something last minute. If you are working like extra hours on that, charge for it. Your job is not free. Okay, another thing, managing freelance finances, taxes, invoicing, payments. As a freelance or independent stylist, you're essentially running your own business, which means managing your own finances. This part of the job can seem overwhelming, but getting it right from the start can save you so much time, so much frustration, and so much headache, and so much money. Like, really, if you start clean from the beginning, that's also the mistake that I did. I just like kind of started out and was like, yeah, I'm going to figure it along the way. No, don't. Like, read everything or like listen to this podcast before you charge any money and like have trouble. Okay, so my favorite topic, taxes. One of the first things you need to understand as a freelancer is that your income is not automatically taxed like it would be if you were an employee. That means you need to set aside a portion of your income for your taxes. In most countries, it's like 20 to 30%. For example, Germany is like very, very, very high with taxes. But keeping this in mind from day one will kind of prevent any surprises when tax season rolls around. So one thing I like to do is basically working with different spaces on my banking account. So you can have different spaces and different also account numbers, so people can send money to different spaces, but it's like your bank account. You can do it, for example, with Revolut or N26. I really don't want to recommend any of those services. Like, do whatever works best for you, because I'm not an expert for that, for finance products. I'm just saying, if you have a bank account where it's possible to have different spaces, you can then already, like, if your client pays you, already take off, let's say, 40% and move it straight to the tax space. And so this way you like saving the money until you have to like pay it actually back, and you're not, spending the money that you think you have and actually you don't. Yeah, that's like my one pro tip, I would say. Yeah. So as I said, paying taxes. Many countries have quarterly taxes. So freelancers are kind of required to pay taxes quarterly. That means every 3 months you need to estimate how much tax you owe based on your earnings, and you send that payment to the tax authorities. So tools like, for example, in Germany, it's Elster, can really, really help you estimate your quarterly taxes and keep it kind of on track. Then another really important thing here that a lot of stylists actually forget, and I also didn't work with it in the first year, are deductions. Don't forget about deductions. As a stylist, many of your work expenses are kind of tax deductible. So for example, if you take an Uber, if you buy office supplies, if you have business related meals, any kind of styling material, or like fashion poles, if you buy anything, you can keep track of those deductions, because this would significantly lower your tax bill. Like, for example, I had this one shoot and I bought something from Yves Saint Laurent for the shoot, and you have like 20% taxes on stuff that you buy, especially like luxury stuff, has like sometimes even higher taxes, and you can get that money back, or you kind of save that money out of the money that you owe to the authorities. Let's say you buy something really expensive and it's like 1,000 euros, and you have 20% tax deduction. That means you're getting 200 euros back, or you're giving them and you don't have to pay them back, because you actually use this for your job. Obviously, that only works if you are paying taxes. I will also get more into detail for like the specifics for the German law, because I know I have lots of listeners from Germany as well. But it's also like I have like a 50-50 mix of listeners. Like half of you are like from Germany and other half is kind of UK, US. I will focus on Germany because I'm based here. But I think you can also maybe, especially if you work with ChatGPT or like tools like that, this will help you so much. But yeah, I will get like more into the specifics for the German market later. Okay, coming to invoicing and payments. First of all, create professional invoices. Always invoice your clients promptly. You can also use different tools for that, but you can just use like a very simple Google Doc template, create your professional invoice, and yeah, make sure you include a due date for the payment, detailed descriptions of the services, and also payment instructions, like where should the money go and what were your costs. As I said, put everything in there, like your Uber and everything. Payment terms. Make sure you clearly outline your payment terms in every contract. Common terms are like net 30, like payment within 30 days of invoicing, but you can also do shorter, especially in the beginning of your career. It makes sense to like say you're doing net 15 or even payment upfront, which is not so typical. I wouldn't do that, but if you're working with new clients and you consider asking for a deposit or like upfront payment to ensure you're compensated of your time, do that. And another thing you can do, I hope you're never in that position, but you could do late fees. Like, unfortunately, late payments are common, especially in the freelance fashion world. And if you include a clause in your contract that outlines late fees, this is not only kind of motivation for your client to pay on time, but it kind of also compensates you for the delay. And it just makes a lot of sense. Okay. Third point, budgeting for stylists, planning for unpredictable income. One of the most challenging aspects of being a stylist, especially as a freelancer, is the unpredictability of income. Some months you might be booked solid, while others might be very slow. And that's why budgeting is so important. And there are different methods on like how you can budget your life and how you can do it like effectively. So very first thing is obviously track your income. So start by tracking it like over time, and you can also use different apps for that, but you can then monitor your cash flow that you're getting from your work, and this will give you like a better understanding of how much you're actually making month to month. And this will also help you plan for like leaner months or fashion months. For example, if you're not booked for fashion month or fashion week, then yeah, you most likely will have not so many jobs during those months. Or maybe you want to travel and you can't work. Also create an emergency fund, really important. Like every freelancer should have an emergency fund. Aim to have at least 3 to 6 months worth of like your living expenses, just in case something goes downhill. And this fund will help you weather any downturns in work, and you don't have to feel stressed, and you can take a vacation, or you just don't have to stress out. And obviously you can also save for retirement. Like if you're a freelancer full time and you don't have the benefit of like employer sponsored retirement plans, that doesn't mean you shouldn't consider saving for your future and like thinking about your future. Like look into self-employed retirement options. For example, investing. There are also like private pension companies that do that. Yeah, but the key here is to start early and save something or invest your money, which is even better than saving, in my opinion. But it's definitely a must. If you want to do freelance for the rest of your life, you're not getting pension if you don't care about it. Yeah, fourth point, building multiple income streams. I feel like I sound like a finance bro today, but it's really important. If you want to build a sustainable career as a stylist, it's important to diversify your income streams. Relying on just like one source of income, it can be a bit risky, especially if you're in a creative field like fashion, where trends and opportunities can also like change rapidly. And that's also why I did the last episode on like consulting. Not every fashion related creative job has to be styling. Like there are other things you can do, especially if you have the knowledge and the expertise. But there are like a few ways how you can build your income streams, especially as a stylist. So you can do online styling services. So in addition to working with clients in person, consider offering virtual styling consultations. You can do it with platforms like Zoom, for example, and then you can provide personalized advice for clients, and those can be anywhere in the world. And this also allows you to like expand your client base, and you don't really have geographical limitations, if you want to say so. And you can also collaborate with maybe fashion startups, smaller designers, also like brands like RENTR, where you can like partner and you can then maybe do like a consulting job, for example. Another thing that I've seen recently, I mean, it's something very similar to like this podcast. You could create digital products. Like if you have a specific expertise, consider creating and selling digital products. And it could also, like, besides a podcast, it could also be like an online course or ebooks. And many stylists have turned their knowledge into passive income by offering also like downloadable resources on personal styling, wardrobe organization, fashion entrepreneurship. Like you can definitely find something that you're really good at. Or also just like if you're really good with like imagery and you have a following, obviously go and become an influencer part-time, because then you can get like brand partnerships and sponsorships. So when you like grow your presence as a stylist, you may have opportunities to collaborate with brands for sponsored content, product placement, brand partnerships, all of this. And this can actually be very, very lucrative. And especially if you're like active on social media, this is like the thing how you can like make easy money actually. Financial tools and resources to keep you organized. Like this is really just like some suggestions that I have. You don't have to use them, but as a stylist, staying organized is like kind of the key to managing your finances effectively. And fortunately, there are like plenty of tools out there to help you track your income, expenses, financial goals, all of that. So I will give you like some tools that I worked with in the past. Again, doesn't mean you have to do it, but these are like things that I work with. And also like I asked a few other stylists in my network what they're using. So there's QuickBooks that I heard of a lot, Xero and Wave. I will also put everything down into the show notes. This is like kind of the classic tool for tracking your income and sending invoices and estimating taxes. Then there are like budgeting apps. There's, for example, Mint or Pocket Guard, and this also like helps you track your personal and your business expenses. And then there are also expense tracking apps just for your expenses, which also makes sense because you can do like project based or monthly based, and you can use apps like Expensify or one which is called Shoeboxed. And you can snap photos of your receipts and like track everything. And this helps actually a lot. Also saving tools. If you are into like saving, then obviously you have different options and like how you want to invest your money. I really don't want to give you any suggestions here, but obviously if you are looking into investing, that's like a whole nother thing and like a whole nother chapter. And I won't do an episode on it. So there's like something you have to like work on by yourself. But yeah, I just wanted to give you like a few tools. Another one that I forgot is Pleo. Pleo is really, really helpful if you are working, for example, with assistants or if you are the assistant of another person, because Pleo kind of gives you a digital credit card, like an Apple Pay card, and you can put money on the card and then give your assistant, for example, the card. They can put it onto their phone, and then you will get updated if they like spend money, and there they can also like take images of the receipts, and you have everything set, and you also have like a fixed budget for your assistant. So that's really, really helpful. I've worked with this in the past, and I would definitely recommend this. That's like the only product I would actually like recommend you, but again, you don't have to work with it. Okay, so future planning, investing in your growth. Finally, one of the most important aspects of managing your finances as a stylist is making sure you're investing in your growth. So whether that's through professional development, education, or expanding your team, you need to think about how to continuously evolve your business. So that's also something that I've kind of done with RENTR, because as I said, I've done a lot of jobs in fashion, and I never really felt like I had this kind of like leverage for myself, because I only can be at one place at one time, which makes it really hard for you to like kind of earn passive income if it's not like, I mean, the stereotypical investing. So what I did was obviously thinking about how I can like make more money than just by working by myself. And definitely RENTR was like one of my first ideas, because actually I started with the idea of just like having an archive, like all the stuff that I bought in the past for projects that I couldn't use anymore. I just thought about like renting stuff. But then I talked to my boyfriend, who's also in tech, and he kind of gave me the idea to like start it as like a digital app and like a platform. And that's how the idea of RENTR was kind of born. And then I met Max, my co-founder, my tech bro. And ever since we've been working on RENTR, but it still feels kind of like the perfect middle between working in fashion and doing something that just gives you like more leverage and just feels more like a business where you can like hire a team and like grow sustainably. So that was kind of my main reason why I quit freelancing, because it was really, really tiring after years and years and years. And there's like this one story that I also told Sarah, like another friend of mine who kind of started with styling, I think a year ago, because another stylist told me the story actually, and she was in LA and she was shooting at a hotel, and in this hotel they also had another shoot, and there was this older, I mean not older lady, but like 50-ish like lady, and she had so many assistants that would like carry all of her stuff, because if you worked one day in styling, you know that it's not as glamorous as you would think. It's like 90% like carrying heavy bags, heavy stuff from A to B. And she had so many assistants carrying everything, like suitcases, clothing bags, all of that. And the other stylist kind of approached her and was like, oh wow, you have such a big team. She was like, yeah, because I could never like picture myself being 50 and like carrying around stuff from like A to B. You know, that's like, you have to kind of grow in your career, but also just as a person, because obviously there are people who do the same job for like 50 years and they're happy with it, but like most creative folks that I met can't really stay that long in the same thing and do the same thing over and over with like the same jobs and the same clients and the same talents and maybe the same teams. And at one point you just want to do something and grow and have the feeling of you kind of getting to the next level. And that can obviously also be something with the outlets. If you start working with bigger talents, your work gets featured in bigger magazines or bigger music videos, whatever you do. And that's obviously one part of the story, but just because a project appears to be bigger or has a bigger name behind it doesn't necessarily mean that you earn that much more money. You know, like one music video that would maybe have like 1,000 views will pay you the same in the end, or like nearly the same as a music video that makes like 1,000,000 views, because it's like the same hourly work that you put into this. Obviously, you can charge a little more, as I said, but if you really, really, really want to have sustainable financial growth through your work, you have to like step it up and like kind of get leverage to your work. And this is where it kind of meets it with the investing in your future point that I had before. Like one thing where I would say it makes sense to invest in is education and courses. So take courses on personal finance, business management, advanced styling, or maybe if it's sewing. This not only builds your skills, but also kind of makes you more marketable and able to charge higher rates. Again, if you're an expert, your client is happy to pay you more for that expertise. Attending networking events and conferences. I know I say it every time, every episode, but I will also briefly go over this again in this context. Attend industry events and meet potential clients and collaborators, building relationships can open new opportunities and also help your business grow. And another point that I mentioned before is building a team. And building a team is like a very, very crucial point when you start expanding your business. Also, another thing that I really want to highlight here is that it's never too early to start with a client or start having a team. I had times where I made maybe like 200 euros on a project. So if you take off taxes and everything, I basically probably paid stuff out of my own pocket, but I still had an assistant there that worked for free. And I was like very transparent with those people, because you always think you have to get to a certain point in your career where you are like legitimated to have an assistant or a person that you are supervising, which is false. Because in the end of the day, if you need help, then go and get it, and don't be too afraid to like ask for help, because in the end, this will be worse for the project, worse for your work, and also worse for your reputation if you don't get things done properly. And for example, if you're starting out and you still have like a full-time job and it's very hard to, balance two things, and you maybe need to pick up items from a designer, but the designer only is like open when your full-time job is kind of, running. So you can't really leave the office and like go and pick up stuff. So you need someone to pick up the stuff from the designer and like, bring it to you. Like, as I said, the classic carrying around things thing. But as I said, also it's like 90% of the job. So don't be afraid to ask for people. I think there's so many people that want to start with styling and fashion and all of that. I also had a friend before that really wanted to become a fashion stylist, and she was like, if you ever need help, let me know. So I asked her, she did it for one day, and she was like, I will never become a fashion stylist because it's brutal and I really didn't like it. So it's also good for people to like just test it for a day. So coming to a conclusion, ask for help. Even if you can pay people, I know it feels shitty. I know you want to pay people, and hopefully when you get to the position where you're able to pay people like their full rent, that's amazing. But if you're not there, then just be realistic about it, be upfront about it, and be transparent, and like talk to the other person and say, okay, obviously I will cover costs of, like, if you have to rent a car, for example, and drive things from A to B, stuff like that, obviously cover that, and that the other person is like not paying out of their own pocket. But tell them that there's like no extra budget for them to like get paid on an hourly rate or like project-based rate. But if they want to do it like for their own like experience and career path, offer it. Because worst case, you get like support. Best case, this will really, really push your project and your career. And yeah, that's how you can like also build a network of assistants. Like I had assistants in like different cities all over Germany to like kind of help me with stuff once it got like too busy for me to like do all of the stuff by myself. And that's how I was able to like have several jobs at once, make more money, and still like obviously have my name on all of those projects. But I was also very clear to my clients that I worked with my team, and I introduced my team to the clients that I worked with, or maybe it be art directors, photographers, especially if you have someone who's like willing to also like make it in the fashion industry. If you introduce, for example, your assistant to just one person on set, to the photographer, let's say, and that helps them getting like a new collaborative partner for their next project, maybe that's already enough, and they don't really think about the payment anymore. So having a team, having people that help you also with other stuff, finances, your website, whatever it be, get your help, and I promise you it will make things so much easier, and you will make friends along the way, or like build a great team, which is amazing. So yeah, at one point consider hiring an assistant, bring interns to help you manage the workload, delegate your tasks like adminning or scheduling, and this will kind of freeze you, and you have more focus on like the high value service and high value clients, and this will like ultimately grow your business. Okay, so as I said, I will also have a chapter on financial tips for Germany-based stylists. which is Freelancer versus Gewerbetreibende. That's like the German term. There's not really like a term for it in English. So I will also use a few of the German terms. So Google them if you don't know them, if you don't speak German but work in Germany, because I think it's really important to like work with the right terms so there's no confusion. And I will just give you like a really quick overview of like freelancing versus Gewerbetreibender. So basically running a company, because there are like pros and cons for everything. And I will kind of try to help you give a better idea of like what you should do next if you start out in Germany. Yeah. So for all stylists listening from Germany, there are a few important financial considerations that apply specifically, and I say it specifically, to the German market. The rules around how you classify your business and how you pay taxes and the legal obligations you have as a stylist, they can be quite different compared to other countries. So yeah, it's really, really important that you get like a tax advisor maybe that is familiar with the country that you live in or work in. Yeah, so let's dive into this super fun, specific topic on how to navigate your business setup in Germany, particularly when it comes to deciding whether you want to register as a Freiberufler, which is a freelancer, or a Gewerbetreibender, which is a business owner, basically. This is the first and like most crucial decision when you start your career. Also, again, like a disclaimer, the following information is specific to like the German law, and it may not be applicable to other countries. So if you are located in another country, also in Germany, consult like a legal advisor or like tax advisor to ensure everything is like legal and perfect and great for your business. Yeah, as I said, decision freelance, Freiberufler versus business owner, Gewerbetreibender. One of the key decisions you need to make when you start your styling career in Germany is whether you register as a Freiberufler or as a Gewerbetreibende. That's like the first thing kind of you need to decide on. And there are different pros and cons, as I said. The way you classify your business affects everything from kind of your taxes to the amount of paperwork that you need to file. And it's really important to like get this right from the start because it's quite hard to like change it afterwards. So kind of let's break down the differences. I will also put everything of this like into the show notes and you have it also written out. Okay. So let's start with the Freiberufler, the freelancer. As a Freiberufler, you operate under a professional title that is generally regarded as like a service-based intellectual or creative profession. So in Germany, many personal stylists or creative can apply to work as a freelancer because their work is considered to be more artistic, creative, advisory, which all falls under the scope of freiberufliche Tätigkeiten. So you can definitely do that. Okay, so key features of being a freelancer. First of all, simple taxation. Freelancers don't have to pay Gewerbesteuer, which is the business tax. That is applicable to business owners. You only need to file income tax, which is Einkommensteuer, and VAT, the Umsatzsteuer we have in Germany. So you only need to file income tax, the Einkommensteuer, and VAT, the Umsatzsteuer, if you exceed the small business limit. I will talk about it. Fewer administrative burdens, like freelancers often have less administrative work and don't have to normally register business with the Gewerbeamt, like the trade office. However, they still need to report their work to the Finanzamt, the tax office, and professional independence. You can provide styling services, consulting, advisory work on a freelance basis, and it's a great option if you work primarily with private clients, style photo shoots, or consult with fashion brands without selling physical products. So I will just give you like a few things when it makes sense to register as a freelancer. So A, you mainly provide personal services or consulting and don't sell physical products like clothes or accessories. You work independently and you don't have a store or like a team, like a larger team, and you prefer simpler tax structure and like fewer legal obligations, I would say. As a Gewerbetreibender or like as a business owner, that's another path. If you decide to go down this route of being a Gewerbetreibender, this means you're kind of setting up a formal business, which could involve more administrative and legal obligations. So for example, if your styling business involves selling products such as accessories, or if you open a fashion consultancy with employees, you will likely need to register as a Gewerbetreibender. Also, another really big thing is obviously like tax deduction. Key features, again, Gewerbesteuer, business tax. As a business owner, you are required to pay Gewerbesteuer, which is a local trade tax levied on the businesses in Germany. The amount you owe will depend on your business profits and like the location of your business. Also, business registration, you must register your business with the local Gewerbeamt, the trade office, and you'll be required to keep more detailed financial records and also more administrative work. So running your business comes with more paperwork and compliance obligations, including bookkeeping, potentially hiring employees and contractors or investors. And you have a broader scope of work. Like if your business involves selling physical products, running an online store, employing other stylists, this option will likely apply to you, like if you have an agency. And when it makes sense to register as a business owner is, again, if you sell physical products, if you want to expand your business by hiring like full-time employees or opening a store or agency, then it definitely would make sense. And if you're aiming for a larger, more scalable business model that kind of requires additional capital and legal structure, it just makes sense. Some key factors to help you decide whether to register as a freelancer or a Gewerbetreibender in Germany. So first thing is type of services you provide, if you are primarily offering personal styling, consultant, or fashion-related advice, freelancing may be simpler and more cost-effective route. If you plan to sell products, open a shop, or hire staff, registering as a business owner might be a necessary. Then tax obligation. Freelancers are exempt from Gewerbesteuer, while business owners must pay this tax. On the other hand, both freelancers and business owners are responsible for income tax and VAT, depending on their income levels. Be sure to consult a tax advisor to understand your tax obligation. And legal requirements. Freelancers face fewer legal and regulatory hurdles compared to business owners. For instance, business owners need to register with Gewerbeamt, maintain more detailed financial records, adhere to business-specific regulations. And yeah, if you have business growth plans, if you plan to keep your business small and service-based, freelancing is simple. However, if you have ambitions to grow, hire employees, diversify into more services, register as a business, and it's probably the better long-term strategy. But consult with a tax advisor, like a Steuerberater, before making your final decision. They can help you navigate the specific legal and financial obligations that apply to your business, especially if you're planning to grow, but also really, really taking account that your advisor should be someone who worked with freelancers before, because there are a lot of tax advisors in Germany. In the end of the day, they like do everything for you, but they also like don't really owe you anything. So, I mean, besides their services, but if their services is like wrong, it's still your fault. So make sure you hire someone who has experience with freelance, with fashion, with like the field that you're working in. Because if you have someone who has like no clue, they can't really help you with like taxation and the best layout for you financially and taxation wise. So yeah, the VAT, the Umsatzsteuer, if your annual earnings exceed the small business threshold, that's currently 22,000 euros in Germany, you will be required to charge Umsatzsteuer VAT on your services and file VAT returns with the Finanzamt. So be sure to factor this into your pricing structure. Make sure your clients know whether Umsatzsteuer is included in your rates or not. Put that on your invoice. Another really important thing, health insurance, Krankenversicherung. In Germany, it's mandatory to have health insurance. As a freelancer, you need to arrange private or public health insurance on your own, which can be significant monthly expense. So keep this in mind when calculating your budget and your rates, like you have to have it. And the retirement savings that I talked to before, like the Rentenversicherung. Freelancers in Germany have the option to join the Deutsche Rentenversicherung, which is like the public pension system or to set up a private retirement saving, but be sure to plan ahead of your retirement. So as a freelance, you don't automatically contribute to state pension systems unless you opt in. So yeah, conclusion. Making the right choices in your styling business. In Germany, the decision to register as a freelancer or business owner will have a significant impact on your taxes, legal obligations, and overall business operations. If you're primarily offering personal styling or fashion consulting services, freelancing is often the simplest and most cost-effective route. However, if you plan to sell products or expand your business, registering as a business owner may be the right move. So make sure you consult a Steuerberater, tax advisor to ensure that you are making the right choice for your specific situation. With the right setup, you can build a thriving styling business in Germany while managing your finances effectively. Also, if you have jobs outside of the country, also really big topic where you have to talk with someone that has a clue on taxes, because sometimes it can really kind of fuck you up if you decide to take the job and then think about the consequences later. So set your rates properly, manage your taxes, diversify your income, and budget yourself for slow periods. You'll be able to survive, you'll be able to thrive and become an entrepreneur in the end of the day. So I really hope this helped you. Thanks for tuning in to this episode of RENTR. I know it's not as fun maybe, but I hope it was helpful, and I hope you share and subscribe to my podcast, because it really gives me so much joy helping others become the best version of themselves, or start their dream career, especially empowering women this way, because I know, again, this industry is really about gatekeeping. This industry is really about elbowing other people out of business. It's a lot of shit talking, it's a lot of toxicity, and I just really want to contribute something with this podcast that helps young women especially start and get started, because before you start your business, you have so many questions and you feel like you're just drowning in it. But once you have everything sorted, once you talk to someone who has a clue of the whole setting up thing, you'll see that you will have more problems and more problems along the way. It's not that once you get started, everything will be fine. I don't want to say that, but you're your own boss, and that's the coolest thing ever. If one day you're able to either don't work full time as an employee, or quit this completely, which is amazing, because then it's just you and your business and you are fully capable to do it. You just have to get started, get your first clients. But yeah, not gonna lie, there will always be problems with finances, with money. I had so many crazy stories. Maybe I can do a small tea time just for the ending of this episode, just to tell you a few stories that happened to me, just so you know I'm still alive. I made it out alive. I'm good. I have a company and I'm happy, and I've done fashion for more than 7 years. If you maybe come to this point where you are very desperate, think back and think about this podcast. Maybe re-listen to this podcast episode, because I will tell you a few things that happened to me. So first of all, the fun side of working internationally if you have a job in a different country. What I didn't know is that you then will have to pay double taxes in your own country and the country that you are working in. So I did a job that was over a week long in the US, and in the end didn't make any money from it, because I nearly got into really bad trouble with the American tax office. It got sorted, but I wouldn't recommend anyone fucking with the American government, especially if you're not in the US and you can really meet in person or call them. First point. Second thing, I once that was really early in my career. I started working with, I can't say too much obviously, because also I signed many NDAs, especially for this job. But I worked with a musician, and she wrote a book, and we wanted to shoot the cover for her book. And she told me that she really wanted to have this really cool suit by, I think it was Saint Laurent as well. She wanted a suit. No, it was a Dior suit. Never mind, it was a Dior suit. She wanted one, like a men's suit for the cover. So I told her before that there wasn't really like a rental that would offer like a Dior suit, because she really wanted like one of those suits from like the last season that she had already seen in the store. So she sent me to the store and she was like, yeah, I want this particular suit. So there was no way of renting it somewhere. And I told her that there's not really a chance that we can like, you know, like take the piece from the store and like return it afterwards, because yeah, we have to buy it in the end. That was the thing that I said. The whole suit was, I think, around 3,000 euros. And she was like, yeah, I'm going to buy it. It's fine. So I go to the store. Second mistake, I didn't get the money up front. I didn't know her or the management before. I went to the store. I bought a 3,000 euro suit at the age of 20. And yeah, I was like, oh, it's going to be fine. It's going to be fun. It's a big client. It will be cool to like do a book. And she also offered me to like style her on the tour that she would do with the book. So I was like super, you know, like super happy. And I really wanted to do my best for this opportunity. So yeah, I went to the store. I got the suit. I went to the shoot and she would put on the suit. It looked amazing. Everything was great. Everything was perfect. And she started going into glam, but while wearing the suit. And I told her like several times, like, take off the suit again and then put it back on once she's like done with glam. She would listen and didn't really take me serious. So it was like a semi between like BTS content while she was still in glam, but we already were kind of shooting. She touched the sleeve of the suit with her full face makeup, and she wore a lot of makeup and it kind of sticked to the sleeve. And yeah, you know, makeup doesn't really go out, especially not out of a black suit. I couldn't bring it to like the cleaner because they would definitely like smell it and yeah, take it back, because she asked me then to like return the suit, that she actually didn't like it that much that she would like want to keep it. And not to say that it's like embarrassing to like go to a store and like return things, but if you go to Dior and you bought a suit for like 3,000 euros and then you return it like a week later, they would definitely check if you like used it. And you will also only, which I learned now, you only get store credits if you go to any luxury store. It's very likely that they won't refund you your money. They will actually only give you store credit. I couldn't bring back the suit because it was dirty, because there was makeup all over the sleeve, and it was like one piece. It was like pants and suit top together and a shirt. So I was like, okay, whatever. I will just like charge the price for the suit on my invoice and plus my normal fee, obviously. Yeah. And then they never got back to me. And then I called them and was like, hey, where's my money? It's been like 2 months. And they were like, oh, it's fine. It's fine. Also, we really want to book you for the next job, for the tour. I was super happy, but I never really got the money. And yeah, it got really, really bad that like some fishy guy from the management, like kind of, called me, and he was like, I'm either gonna like go silent or he will silence me. Let's say it like that. Were you silent or were you silenced? That was like a classic moment that I don't like looking back. But yeah, I never got paid for like the whole project. I never got paid for the suit. Let me tell you, I was 20. I paid literally all the money I had in my bank account and never got paid for the job. And that was really frustrating and really, really bad. And I had like a few other examples where I also worked with like smaller rappers, let's say, and they were like, yeah, money isn't really a problem. Like, it's a red flag. If your client ever says like money isn't a problem, money is definitely a problem, and don't trust them too much, because then I like rented some extra stuff and I bought some extra stuff and I was like, all good, all blah, blah, blah. I sent them my invoice and they were like, oh, why is it so high? You told us you were like this and this price for this project. And I was like, yeah, but I also have cost. And you told me that money isn't really a thing to worry about. So always have like fixed budgets. Otherwise, this can like end really, really badly. I have so many of those stories. Like I've done so many jobs, and some of them were really frustrating. Some of them were financially more disadvantaged than an advantage. But obviously these are like all experience that you don't have to make them, but it's also like if you like conquer your fears, and like if you have a problem like this and then you tackle the problem, you will feel better and like more confident with the next job, and you know how to deal with the next job. These weren't even like the craziest stories. I'm so sorry. Maybe I will do like an episode where I spill some tea of like my career, because I'm not a stylist anymore, so maybe it doesn't matter too much. And maybe I'll ask around with like my styling friends if some of them have like some tea, or maybe I will do like a segment every episode where I have like an ending of a juicy story time. Also, if you have like any interesting, funny storylines that happen to you as a stylist, maybe I will do an episode, and you can just like send them anonymously to me. Yeah, that's it for this week. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you took some notes and actually listened, because you have to. And if you're a boss woman, you have to listen to this, and you actually have to be afloat of things. Otherwise, it will eat you up alive. Like I made the same experience, and that's why I decided to go for this really boring topic of finances as like my 5th episode on fashion styling, but it's just a must. And I promise you next week will be much more fun. But I will announce that soon. Also, thank you so much, because we are currently breaking through like the 2000 listeners per. It's crazy like that 2000 people are like listening to what I'm saying, even though it's like a really small podcast and I just started it. So thank you everyone for like following, subscribing, sharing, commenting, everything. This is literally like my dream, like coming true, like making a podcast next to the actual company, because I really, really, really love podcasts. I listen to more podcasts than music. Give me all your feedback, questions in the comments, or via email, via DM, whatever helps you. And other than that, I am very happy to see you next week at the RENTR Podcast. Bye.